we're here gathered here today to talk about the passing of Outer Circle. I'm kidding. I just started the video, and I know a lot of people have spat their tea out when I've just said or beer or whatever they're drinking. But hello, folks. We are here to talk about a new Grimdark Therapy episode, and we're here to talk about Games Workshop. But first of all, how has everybody been? Kaifer, how have you been, man? What's been going on? It's been a while since we've done one of these. We're out of order, by the way. We're out of order.
Oh yeah, we're breaking the rules over here today,
yes,
right?
Makraz's own subject that he wants to tackle, which is very, very interesting, and we didn't want to miss out on. But we felt we had to strike when the iron is hot, and I was next on the docket after Maka, so I guess I drew the short straw here. But anyway, how have you been, Kaifer? What's been going on?
Good. I've been on a bit of a hobby arc on the channel, so that's been fun. Yeah. I kind of enjoy just jamming with the hobby side of things rather than getting into the critiques every now and again. So that's been a bit of a palate cleanser.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you. Would you be interested in, because I've got a guy, Minimaker, who does really cool sculpts, really cool stuff. So would you be interested in his details? Like if you wanted to do some of his models on your stream or something? Because he's got really cool
Oh, that could be cool. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll work that in DMs. That's
neat.
Yeah.
I'll pass along his details to you. Anyway, yeah, I've seen your content, man. It's really good. Like, seen your bugs and things that you've been doing over there. It's been very, very nice.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
I want to see Lorgar back though. I've not seen Lorgar in a while.
Oh, he's in the pile of shame to-do list.
Yeah.
I definitely will finish off that Lorgar. It's a nice model.
Absolutely. And Makra, how's it been going, man?
I have been incredibly busy. I got a little bit sick, but not the kind of sick where it was like, my life is in threat. No, it was like I had a chest infection, and it was just coughing up a storm. Otherwise, I was perfectly healthy. I've been doing heaps more outdoors, especially with the kids at Scouts and that. And I clocked up like 12 kilos of weight loss in like 2 months. I've been doing that much hiking.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I needed to lose weight, so it's not a bad thing at all. Been doing that and just so bloody busy with work. Just cannot be understated how busy I've been. But that's sort of coming to a head now. And then just looking at, okay, how am I going to move forward with the channel? Because I'm just not interested in talking 3.0 if all I'm going to be doing is talking about things I don't like.
It's filling your life with negativity.
Benefit to this.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't want to, create the I Hate 3.0 channel. I just sort of want to talk a little bit about it and just be done with it and move on to the next thing.
Did you ever think about going over retro stuff like the Alan Blythe stuff and things like that? Like really going in depth in the Bad Ab War and, overturning the original Horus Heresy and going through the... You ever see those channels where the guy, you can only see their hands and they're going through a book? Like, dude, I'd watch that all day. If you did something like that for like the big books of the old Heresy, I'd watch the hell out of that. That'd be so cool. That would be so cool. Just ideas.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of that. The problem is like they're really good, really enjoyable books all the way up through to book like probably from 6 onwards of the original Black books. It starts to deteriorate, and it's like here's some flaws, and then by the time you get to book 9, you're like, you really were just phoning it in, weren't you, Games Workshop? And then, of course, some, like the newer Heresy 2.0 stuff, it's like, wow, you just didn't care. I mean, the books are falling apart on me as well, which is even worse. Oh, yeah, their binding is terrible in their books. I don't know if anyone else who's listening has had this problem, but the hardcover books from Games Workshop the last few years, I don't know, are they binding them with like the spit of a sick mouse or something? Because they just don't seem to hold together.
Well, I know in the new rulebook there's a little disclaimer says it's not meant for heavy use, which basically means you don't take it to games. But like that's.
Oh, so you don't want to use your rule.
Don't use your book. Yeah. The book you just bought, don't use that.
Unbelievable. That's so stupid.
Don't read it. Don't read it.
I don't believe you. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we got it's like little tiny little. Let me go get it.
It does sound like classically Games Workshop. It's right up there with the don't eat the Tide Pods. You know, it's right
Yeah,
up there.
like some point in 8th edition, I decided to stop buying codexes because I just didn't.
Well, this is 9th.
I didn't want to. Oh well, yeah. So post that time period. So yeah, if it's something they've started doing in fine print to suggest, be very careful with this sacred tome. It's for looking at a distance only.
Yeah, produced in Warm World section. There you go. I don't know if they can.
Well, it's
see
a bit
it
of
on
that's a bit of a spoiler for my
Oh, no, you can't see it.
for our topic.
Oh yeah. So we don't have to get to the meat of it.
No.
Which is has print media and Games Workshop outstayed its welcome.
Well, on that, speaking of Games Workshop phoning people and and doing horrible things, they've just I guess I was going to say nothing much has happened as in a little little ironic aside, but they kind of just tried to detonate the hobby. So I guess we should talk about that. Because I think 3D printing has been the life force of a lot of people in the hobby recently. When you've been looking at Games Workshop's prices and the state of their models, and some people don't like mod lines, so they want to go and get models from elsewhere, and they go to where do they go? 3D printing, to other people who show their love and appreciation for things like Grimdark therapy. You can't incidentally use those models also in 40k if you're in a place that will allow that. But most people just want to paint some Space Marines or paint some, big bugs, and they don't have to be branded Games Workshop to do that. That is in danger of going away because Games Workshop have, as we all know, they sent a cease and desist letter to Gamak, who is one of the biggest 3D printing services and sites in the world. It's going to get your stuff from. Really cool stuff over there, and they sent him a cease and desist. He offered. They told him to remove. Do you know what? No, I'm not going to do that again because I could read the actual article, but I'm not going to. They told him to remove. Everybody else got a cease and desist. Just like please remove the names from some of your models, and that's it. Right? No problem. You sell your models, whatever. Gamak got literally take down 70% of all the things on your site for good, and sign this NDA, sign this thing that means you're not going to talk about it, number one. Number two, you can't do this ever again. You can't make Space Marines or whatever. Basically tank your entire business at our behest, or we're going to sue you. He went back to them and said, hey, why don't I just take down, I'll meet you halfway, I'll take down 30 to 35% of the things on here that are most egregious in your eyes. I don't agree, but in your eyes, I'll take these down, and we'll see from there. And no response forever, for a long time, till finally they went ahead with a court date, and now they are going to court. They are actually suing each other. Not great. And if this succeeds, what Games Workshop are saying is, this isn't a copyright infringement case. This is the big thing. If this is copyright infringement, I don't think I would have even covered it, because it's, okay, well, whatever, It's unfair competition. So Games Workshop are attesting that by selling something that can be played in one of their games, this is creating an unfair competition and it needs to be stopped, and they're suing Gamak for that. If you're seeing the issue here, viewers, and I'm sure you are, Games Workshop can literally say, if they win this case, hey, are you making skeletons over there? D&D? You're making skeletons? Well, you're not allowed to do that. That can be used as a proxy in our games. That's unfair competition. Are you making a Starship Troopers Marine over there? Oh, we can't do that. It's against our... You can use it in our games. It's unfair competition. That's the issue. And also the issue is, they won't really go after the big people. Alright, they're not going to go after Marvel. They're not going to go after anybody else. They're going to go after 3D printing. This is their response to 3D printing. This is what it is. Their response isn't to, meet like for like and say, no, we'll do 3D printing, but better. We're Games Workshop. We're the best. We can do this. And they could do that. Their response is, kill it. Kill it through legal means. Make people terrified of even touching anything in 3D printing that even slightly looks like one of our models. What do we think? I don't mind who jumps in first, but what do we think of the current situation? Sorry I had to do the spiel, but
No, I think it's good to lay out the context so everyone gets a good idea. I guess I would add that for those who are unfamiliar, Gamak's sculpting, as far as I've seen, there's nothing in there that's like one for one. He's looked at he's done a 3D trace, you know what I mean? Or an eyeballing something to look exactly like a GW product. It's sci-fi or Grimdark inspired, sure, but it's very much like their own designs.
It's his own thing. It's not a love you, Manji, could we speak a lot, but it's not an Manji situation where he's literally just taking the stuff from Warhammer, the video game. It's distinctly the silhouette. Oh, you go, oh, that's kind of like a Space Marine. But when you look at it, you're like, oh no, it's not a Games Workshop Space Marine. Like anybody who knows GW stuff knows it's not a Games Workshop Space Marine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as for how I feel about it, I think it's super disgusting. And you know what? It's probably a legal term to say unfair competition, but the optics of that label used by GW is so painful to me. It's so disgusting. Yeah. This idea that, it's unfair that our monopoly is being like touched on by indirectly. It's indirectly affected from our game system that just has an iron grip over people in the hobby. Because
I think I said something similar about EA. I said, like, EA are not anywhere near as bad as Games Workshop. Because if EA make FIFA, right? Or EAFC. So did they sue Konami when they made Pro Evolution Soccer? No. They didn't say it was unfair competition because you're making something very similar to our product. Like, no, because they'd be laughed out of court. They'd be like, no, fuck yourself. What are you talking about? You can't do that. You don't own that the you know, what football is, or soccer, or wherever you're from, if you're a Philistine, you know, like you don't do that. Like it's ridiculous. Like Games Workshop, EA do not sue their own fans. They're a terrible company with terrible business practices. They were voted worst company in America, what, three years in a row, which is a huge achievement, and they're not this bad. They are not this bad, and for some reason in the UK we celebrate this lot, like there's some sort of, I don't know. And you know what's even worse? I've had a trip, so my missus is going to go see McFly in Nottingham. Don't ask. And I was like, oh, do you know what? You're going to Nottingham? Well, I'll come with you and I'll pop into Warhammer World. And this has just happened, and I've just done 2 videos now where I've been absolutely scathing the Games Workshop. So that's going to be an interesting time to have on Wednesday. But anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, and the rub of it is, in my humble mind, you know, in 3D, when we're watching the rise, the slow incremental increase of quality and ease of use with 3D printing, I always thought in my heart of hearts that, you know what, this is good, because now there's an inroad to competition. GW will have to compete either with price or with quality at some point, right? 3D printing will become cheap enough or easy enough, or the quality, like there'll be a meeting point of those factors that'll tip the scales, I thought. And then that was completely subverted by this choice to just hit people with lawfare. Mm-hmm. It's just like the most scummy. I feel like it's the scummiest way to go about it. I think you mentioned it in your video on the topic, which I watched, and I'm like, yeah, I completely agree. It's like, I don't have a word for it other than it's gross. And I think that's what I told you guys when the story first coming to light in our group chat.
This is the first time it actually feels ugh. You know?
Yeah, because like unfair competition, like it just feels completely unreasonable. And I hate that I feel this way, but I want them to lose. And I don't want to be that guy who wants to feel like, the company of the IP that I enjoy is, I want them to lose because I want them to win. And how nice would it be to champion them, right? Yeah. And it's like, they're not making it easy or even possible.
Well, we will get into the irony of Games Workshop saying what you're doing is unfair competition when you look at the Tyranids and you look at some other factions that are in 40k. But Maka, what do you reckon about what's going on right now with this kind of thing? Have you given it some thought?
I have given it a lot of thought. So first things first, obviously none of us are legal experts. No. So, we're just throwing crap out in the air.
We're geniuses.
Not that the disclaimer will help us in any way.
Yes.
But, so, very interesting. I decided to look a little bit deeper into the claims. It's very interesting to see the comments, both on the video and on Facebook, social media, Instagram, all that. Because many of them are like, oh, well, his stuff is a one-for-one rip of Games Workshop's. It was quite a commonly cited statement. And they showcase things like his version of the Leviathan Dreadnought. And I look at it, it's like, I can see the resemblance, but it's no way a one-for-one. And this is where I think the community itself gives far too much leeway to Games Workshop. It'd be like a car manufacturer saying, well, that other company made a vehicle with 4 wheels and a windscreen. That's basically our car. No. You know, like, just because you can tell what something is meant to be, it doesn't mean that it is that thing, if that makes sense. And this was very strictly ruled upon when it came to the copyright claims of 160 total that Games Workshop made against Chapter House Studios. And I went back before this episode and dug up a lot of that information. Lovely. Now, it's very hard to dig up every single claim listed. A lot of that data is scrubbed from the internet unless you want to actually go onto the legal websites and subscribe, which costs money, and I'm not that keen. But I'll tell you some interesting factoids from that case. So, there were instances where Games Workshop essentially was able to argue a very similar argument to Gamak, in which they said, hey, this thing is a one-to-one of our thing, and they're costing us money by making it. It's a direct threat to us, stealing our business. And the court agreed, because the units in question were the female guardsmen and female farseers.
Right.
So they named it female of Games Workshop's thing. And this was the big point. They're using Games Workshop's language, was the big point the court made. Where they didn't use Games Workshop's language, the court was like, no. No, it doesn't work like that. So, for example, they had Power Fists. They called them Power Fists. They were shaped the same as Games Workshop's Power Fists. They lost. Power Fists is something unique to Games Workshop. So, Chapter House lost on that. The Dark Elf Torturous. Chapter House lost on that. Why? They called it a Dark Elf Arch Torturous. Like, it was basically saying it's the Arch Sorceress. You know? And they called it a Dark Elf. Like, it was too similar. Yes. But when it came to shoulder pads, the court was like, you can't copyright that. Like, yeah, yours are bigger than shoulder pads in history, but you don't own the copyright to it just because you made bigger shoulder pads. So Chapter House won on that. They said no, and Games Workshop, for the record, you cannot copyright shoulder pads because of their shape and size. They ruled that in court. They said, cool, they called it a Tyrannid Mycetic Spore. Yeah, Games Workshop, you own those trademarks, but you never made the unit.
Yeah.
So the name itself may be your trademark, but saying that they're producing a model, no, you can't do them for that. Same as Doom of Malantine, Parasite, and Mortrix, right? For many units, like jet bikes, they had a jet bike conversion kit for making Space Marine jet bikes. Chapter House won on that, because Games Workshop didn't make Space Marine jet bikes at that time. So they were able to win a lot of these claims. In the trademarks and false advertising, in general trademarks, there were 9 claims, and Chapter House won every single one of them. In disputed trademarks, there were 21 claims, and Games Workshop won 10, Chapter House won 11. For previously used in commerce trademarks, there were 61 claims involving trademarks that Games Workshop asserted they had prior use in commerce. Chapter House actually won 35, Games Workshop only won 27. And this is things like selling your products and saying, like, you know, Tyrannid Mycetic Spore. They're like, yeah, okay, they use Tyrannid, which is like your trademark name, but they're just calling it a thing, and you don't even make that thing, so who cares, was basically the way the court looked at it. There is a transcript of this, which makes for very interesting reading, because you get to see how both sides argue it. And Games Workshop's point was often, look, this is clearly looks like our thing. And the court was like, and?
Yeah.
That was how the judge and the jury looked at the case. Because this did go before a jury, not just a judge, in the final instance, because there was a lot going on. The biggest thing was false advertising, which is Games Workshop claimed that Chapter House use of Games Workshop's terminology to describe compatible products, even with a disclaimer, constituted false advertising. It was very interesting because Games Workshop did win in that Chapter House had to pay them $25,000 as settlement, but they actually lost 2/3 of the claims that they made. They were claiming things like the ownership of the word pauldron in a wargaming setting, the word halberd because of Nemesis halberds and force weapons and such, and the court just said, no, these things have been around for thousands of years. You can't own something that humanity has been using for all this time. So so even though they quote unquote won $25,000, they actually paid a lot of money back to Chapter House because Chapter House countersued for certain things along the way, like time incurred by the lawyers sending paperwork back and forth, and and so there was a lot of money they exchanged. But basically, Games Workshop just went into it with the attitude of, we think we're entitled, therefore you give us money. And the court went, just because you've written something down a piece of paper, it does not automatically mean you own that thing in perpetuity. And this was the big issue that happened. And what was very interesting takeaway for me comparing that with the Gamak lawsuit is that with what they're saying being unfair competition, that it's a directly compatible with Warhammer models, is they tried that very thing against Chapter House. And basically the court said, if Chapter House says it's female guardsman, female farseer, yes, that is a direct threat because they're calling it that unit and they're selling that unit as a direct alternative. But if they called it generic space elf wizard instead of farseer and sell it, no, they can do that, and Games Workshop lost every time in the Chapter House lawsuit that they tried to pull that shit. So the standard was set to a degree, and I think the Gamak's lawyers will probably reference that Chapter House lawsuit strongly.
Legal precedent.
And say, like, this is the precedent that's already been set. And there was a lot of other cases that are referred to in the Chapter House lawsuit, which was made for some interesting reading as well. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can only imply certain takeaways from, it was an Illinois lawsuit. But very interesting to see, like, Games Workshop basically saying, hey, we own this thing because your thing could be used to replace our thing. And I would like to, and I know I'm taking up a lot of the airtime here, I would like to liken it to the auto industry. You can sell parts that say compatible with Toyota Land Cruiser. Toyota will not come and take down your eBay channel or your eBay page for it, right? This happens all over engineering around the world. Like, you can make parts, you can make bolts, you can make this, that, and the other for vehicles, right? You can't make patented systems, right? You can't make a one-to-one copy of a Ford engine that's within its patent life and sell it as a one-to-one Ford engine, right? At least calling it a Ford engine. You can say, this is a one-to-one replica I made of a Ford engine, who would like to buy it? That's perfectly legal, right? But saying your thing is compatible with it, or you could use these aftermarket rims on that car, perfectly legal. The only thing car companies do is they try and weasel their way into making you buy the legit stuff by saying, oh, we just won't accept warranty claims if you use third-party parts in your car. But that's it. That's all the auto industry can pull off. And I think Games Workshop here probably was going down and this is my guess, let's call their bluff. Like, let's try and strong-arm this guy. He probably won't stand up to us because we're a multi-billion-dollar company and he's a fucking nobody. And, we'll just bury him under the weight of legal nonsense. But he's calling the bluff in that he wants to fight them. And Games Workshop right now is probably going, oh, okay, we actually need to make a case here, because they don't have a case. the worst thing that's happening in this lawsuit is the community, like I said, turning around and go, oh yeah, but you can tell it's meant to be a Leviathan. I don't care if I can tell what it's supposed to be. It's not that thing.
Dude, I'm
unless Gamak says, unless he says this is Leviathan Dreadnought armed with storm cannon, it's not that thing.
If you go to bat for like $1 billion corporation like this, go fuck yourself. I just need to say that, because this is some guy and his business. And you're a massive piece of shit if you say things like that, because it just, number one, I just say, even if it is the case that you think it looks like a Leviathan, nobody cares. No one cares. That's not what's being argued in court even. What's being argued is what Games Workshop have said. And I think a lot of people have gotten onto the fact, and I said this in my video as well, which was hilarious, because I had 1 or 2 comments saying, well, it's not really about winning. I said that in my video. Don't comment on YouTube videos you don't watch. But like, it's not about winning. It is not about them winning the case. It's about them trying to bury this guy so that they set an example for other people. They're trying to get this guy to pay legal costs and to ruin his business and to put him on the back foot and to give a message to other people who may try to to do what Gamak is doing, as in making better alternatives to Games Workshop products, and making them look silly. But I always hoped that with the advent of 3D printing and it getting better and it starting to match them, then instead of being utterly arrogant about it, and instead of they would actually go, do you know what, 3D printing, it's here now, we can't do anything about it really, okay, let's do it ourselves, let's sell our own STL files, let's sell our own branded 3D printer, and let's go down that route. Let's offer people a better alternative than what we already do, rather than being stuck in the past and, rending our garments because things are changing. They've done the exact opposite, because they've said, no, what we'll do with 3D printing, we won't acknowledge it, that it exists, and then we'll just sue them. We'll bury them under litigation with all this money that we've got, and we'll try and intimidate people into just not doing it anymore. Great, awesome. And also, if somehow we win, it only takes one judge to turn around and go, you know what? Yeah, fine. You got a case. No problem. Yeah, I'll give you all that. It only takes one just to absolutely tank this entire thing. If they win this, and they won't, but if they do, let's say devil's advocate, if they do, we're fucked. We are absolutely fucked, because that means, again, that means the precedent has been set of, well, any sort of 3D printing company that's out there are barred from doing anything that could resemble a Games Workshop product, because they will go crazy. They will send these letters out to everybody. Everybody will get a massive, not just cease and desist, but a takedown order of take down all your stuff from your website. Take it all down. It is unfair competition, and if you don't want to happen to you what happened to Gamak, who now has to pay all of our legal fees because you lost, then take it all down. That was the point of my video. Like, they are literally, this is war. Like, they are declaring war on the ecosystem that they created with their own shitty business practices. The only reason 3D printing exists is because of them. Because they sell you these shitty models that have massive mold lines all over them for ridiculous price. The cheeky bastards are still selling grey knights. These squatty, anemic grey knights that just look like children compared to Primaris Marines. They're still selling them at full price. The Games Workshop, that is why people go to 3D printing. Because your models suck ass, for the most part, right? If you're not into Space Marines, or a certain section of Xenos, who have new things, your models suck. They're not very good. There are better alternatives out there. The way you combat that is you make better models. You give the people what they want. You find a gap in the market and you plug it. That's what you do. That's how this works. Commerce, in general. What you don't do is try and sue the competition out of the room. This is the problem with having a monopoly. This is the problem with having one big person in the room who has 95% of the money. They can throw their weight around like this, which is why I do implore people to go and support Gamak and make sure that he has the money to do this legal case. But did you guys agree that it is a massive sea change? Like this is I think this is a lot bigger than the Chapter House one, because this is a lot more far-reaching than the Chapter House one in terms of the language that they're using here.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like it's very important that Gamak wins, and like you said, I think the wind's blowing that way. It'd be a corrupt judge, so to speak, right? If it was ruled in favor of GW, I think, based on how things look to me, anyways. But I'll offer a different perspective or take to what you just suggested. I don't even think Games Workshop's models are that bad. I mean, sometimes they're a bit obnoxious. I mean, not sometimes. It seems to be quite often they're obnoxious with how they're cut into these tiny, tiny little pieces, just to give you some hobby time, basically, right? Just superfluous hobby time to spend cutting and gluing and trimming parts. I think that's annoying. But I think, moreover, man, that for the 3D printing side of things, it seems to be that Games Workshop can't keep pace with the inventory that they've kind of set as their landscape. And I think that's the bigger issue for 3D printing. Like, and that's like another layer to this, because, like, how obnoxious is it to claim unfair competition when you can't even meet the demand of the products that you're claiming that for? Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. You run out of your models. Like, you literally run out. Like,
often, dude. Often.
And you're doing it on purpose.
Can I add to that, actually? Yeah. Can I add to that particular gripe? Not only do they run out of models, but they don't put enough parts to make the models required into many of their kits. And this is a long-term problem, and it's very frustrating. You remember going back to, when the Havocs first released in 40k with that new like rotor cannon and that, and it was all the meta to have like 4 of them or whatever. And so you only got like 1 or 2 in the box, So it's like it's this artificial scarcity at the same time as like, yeah, there's going to be scarcity from the amount of people purchasing the product, but it's the artificial scarcity in them saying like, yeah, we know that you could take multiple of this weapon in the unit. We're just not going to give you the access to that. Or we know you can take this item of war gear. We're going to put that behind another paid box, like paid DLC. And it's very, very scummy. And many of the third-party models on the market are trying to make up for the scumminess. They're making the bits. They're making the conversion accessories that Games Workshop won't. They're like, they don't make custom Blood Angel shoulder pads for the new Terminators or something. Oh, here you go. Here's a bunch of... And it's like, awesome. And then Games Workshop like gets them taken down anyway because they're able to convince, My Mini Factory and Colts and all these sites to take them down, even though that is one of the things they fucking lost on in the Chapter House lawsuit was, no, if they want to make pauldrons, they can, right? Even if it uses symbols very, very similar to yours, like, we don't care. Was basically one of the things in the Chapter House lawsuit. And it's like, all they want to do is buy these things, often 3D printed parts, to enhance their models. They're actually buying the plastic models, they're enhancing them with 3D parts, and that's not even good enough for Games Workshop. It reminds me of the music industry and the TV industry and their approach to piracy. The music industry went, if you make music cheap and most of all convenient, people will just do it legitimately. Yep. And it ended a lot of music piracy by creating things like Spotify.
Yeah, they literally...
Meanwhile...
it was great the way you handled it.
Yeah, meanwhile, you've got the TV industry and well, I should say movie and TV studios who went, we can all equally have a slice of the pie if we all create a streaming service simultaneously. We'll all create a streaming service, and for some reason, us only having access to our own library of content will somehow make us the monopoly, where all the customers go, I'm not getting fucking 15 streaming services, and they just pick sort of their one favorite, and then all these companies just hemorrhage money, like Paramount Plus and Disney Plus and whatever they're all fucking called. They're all plus something, right? And they all hemorrhage fucking money because it's like, whereas Netflix and that was successful and Amazon Prime are successful, or Prime Video, because they have a diverse range of content on their platforms. They're not beholden to that one studio, you know? And then you look at Games Workshop, it's like you're in the same boat as a company. You are trying to be the monopoly on the industry, and every time the competition is filling a void that you're creating in the market, rather than going, shit, that is a void that, you know, we should be filling or servicing, you just try and hammer the problem away and not address the void in the first instance. That's a huge issue, in my opinion.
I mean, it is, because as I've said before, like they create these gaps in the market, and then they're arrogant enough to just not address them. That's the problem. Like they will say, well, yeah, you can't have. We're not going to do any shoulder pads for your Terminators. We're not going to do any new models for Grey Knights for 20 years. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. Arrogance personified. Like being like, no, you'll get what we give you, and even then, it's going to be limited edition release. So you know, give us your money. Give us. When we want you to, not when you have the money. Beggar yourself. Like, if you don't have the money now, get good, scrub. Like, you don't get to have it. You know, you're gonna have to wait for another 6-7 months before we can release it. You know, or even, you know, and I've said this before. They could solve all these problems by just making it made to order, totally fine, everything's cool, and they won't. It's a choice. You know.
Can I piggyback onto that, because now you've opened a particularly nasty flesh wound.
Yeah.
The instance of something like Castle and Crow is a great example. So when he first came out, it's like, hey, buy these 20-year-old models. And, well, they're not 20 years old. They're like 2011. Yeah. Those Grey Knight models. But you know what I mean, right? Buy these 14-year-old models, and you get... That's the only way to get Castle and Crow. It's like, but if you already have a Grey Knight army, like, I've already got those models. So why are you forcing me to pay for models I already have? And anyone who's interested in getting into Grey Knights is probably sitting there going, well, if I'm getting into Grey Knights, I want the Castle and Crow model too. So I don't want to buy your leftovers from your box, because I want that model you bought the box for. You know, it's that fuck you type of purchase where they're trying to sell you old models at modern prices, and they just throw in the sweetener of like that one new model, that one new resculpt. And it's really, really frustrating, because I get this in Horus Heresy, where they release, quote-unquote, a range, like Solar Auxilia or Mechanicum, but they don't release the fucking range. They release 6 kits. And it's like, okay, but there's still a dozen kits in resin. And they're like, yo, they'll get around to those later. It's like, when is later? If like, I was 23, 24 when the Horus Heresy came out. I'm 37.
Yeah.
Nowhere near all of it is in plastic. Nowhere near.
Well,
how long does a person wait? Decades?
Dark Elder Archon that came out. Same. You know, you want the new Archon. Well, buy all the shitty stuff you don't want, and then you can have them. So, what?
Yeah, and the problem is they release part of a range. And now you end up in this sort of limbo where it's like, do you buy what is plastic in the hope that sometime soon they'll release more plastic? Or do you sit there just running this plastic army, which is like a half-baked army because it doesn't contain all the shit you need? Or do you also fork out for the resin stuff? And now you have this horrible conglomeration of resin and plastic that makes up your set. And if you buy the resin stuff, well, one, is it even going to be in stock? It's not, probably. Let's be honest, it's not. Shit is never in fucking stock in resin anymore, right? They did something pre-COVID. It wasn't even COVID, it was pre-COVID. They did something that just annihilated Forge World's ability to produce miniatures. Like, physical production seems to have just died before COVID even hit. But you're now stuck in this, like, well, do you want to buy half resin, half plastic army? You know, what if you buy the resin and then, like, really nice plastic versions of those models come out 6 months later? You're going to be annoyed that you paid all that money for the resin and all the assembly woes and blah, 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 right? Like, there's so many negatives in here. And it's like, if you're going to do it, if you're going to release a range in plastic, release the fucking range in plastic. Like, do a proper do-over of the whole set, right? Like, the majority of kits. And this is something that, you know, Chaos Space Marines, 40k. Yeah, they have a complete range now, I would say, or mostly complete range. Like, okay, the Predator tank, the File, and the Land Raider are all like fucking eons old at this point, literally 2001, 2002 era. But 2003 for Defiler. But if you look at the Chaos Marine releases, okay, it's like 8th edition. You get like what? In fact, I'll go back further. 6th edition, you get Raptors / Warp Talons, and you get the Dinobots, which suck. And then it's basically nothing up until 8th edition. Then 8th edition, it's like, oh, well, here's Chaos Warriors, Chaos Space Marines themselves, like, you know, the basic bitch ones, and some cultists type thing. Actually, that was Dark Vengeance as well, the cultists. And then, and the Havocs. And then it's like, nothing else. And then next edition, it's like, okay, well, now we'll give you, you know, Chosen. Or we'll give you Terminators. It's like one unit, you know, just being drip-fed, like waterboarded an army out over several editions. And it's really fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
Because you now have, like, this awful situation, like, if you wanted to collect, say, Slaanesh as a great example of that, where it's like the old Slaaneshi Noise Marine kits were the only thing that you could, like, buy to make a Noise Marine army right up until they got their release a few months ago, right? So all the rest of Chaos has all these brand new miniatures, you know, Khorne, Nurgle, even Tzeentch, and obviously the core range, but Noise Marines are languishing with their 2003 sculpts, with their horrible squat bodies, resin parts, and, you know, all these upgrades. It's like, that's a miserable place to be, because who wants to collect that army?
I think,
and if you do collect that army, or you collect those units because you're like, oh, I think a unit of Noise Marines would be really cool in my Black Legion force, you now have this horrible situation like with Grey Knights, where Castellan Crow is like 2 feet taller than the other fucking models, where it's like, oh, now I have these really awesome modern Chaos Space Marines, and I've got these shitty, like, half fine cast, half 2000s era plastics Space Marines with, like, that fucking I'm shitting my diapers wide-legged pose. Like, it sucks. There's nothing but feels bads in that situation. So why would you not look at a third-party alternative and have some homogeneity in your force?
I think the real issue, like, that I'm seeing, and I know we discussed all the other things as well, is that most of the so Games Workshop, I think it's not a controversial thing to say, they haven't treated their fan base very well. Understatement, I know. Over the past 10, 15 years. We had a little honeymoon period, 2016, 2017, to maybe to the pandemic, to 2020. So we had like a 3-4 year period when I worked for the company. Yes, when I was there, and we had generally good reviews and people were getting on with it. And it was the early days of the new CEO, Roundtree, and everything's going fine and everything's great, right? Now, again, there were certain things going on that weren't great, as in not everyone liked 8th edition, you know, stuff like that. But in general, it was seen like, oh, people, they're listening, you know, the squats are coming out. We got, you know, Plastic Sisters, which was a meme for a long time. People forget, you know, it was that they never listened to us. We want Plastic Sisters, and here they are, right? As soon as he came in, announced. Big refresh. Apart from that honeymoon period, they've not treated their fan base very well, especially since the pandemic. The last 5 years have been almost wholly bad. My issue here is that they treat us that way, and then when there is an avenue to sort of still be in the hobby, still give them money but not give them all of the money to just get some joy out of it, their response to that isn't to say, oh, there's a problem here, maybe we should you know, give them a better product, maybe we should be more, you know, not as spiteful with the way that we ask them to buy new models, maybe we need to, you know, change the way we do things. Instead of doing that, they say, no, let's cut off that avenue of enjoyment and force them to interact with our toxic practices and force them to recognize we're the only people in the room who can do this. That's my problem. If Games Workshop were actually addressing our concerns like they did for a short period of time and say, listen, okay, these new kits, whenever the new Archon comes out with Dark Eldar, he's in his own box. He's in the other box as well, as a little reward, but he's in his own box. You can go and get him now for 25, 50, whatever it is, right? You can, well, I'm not even asking for a price freeze, even though there should be a reduction and then a freeze, but, you know, whatever. Not even asking for that. Make things made to order. Make a big set right away, you know. If you want it right now, we've got a limited amount. But once they're gone, you can order them made to order. It'll just take 2 weeks to get to you because we've got to make it. That's fine. That still means you got your FOMO. If people want it right now, they got to go get it. But like, you got to fight everybody else to get it. But you can also just make it made to order, and you get it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. But they won't do that. It's a choice to do that. Bit of a segue. The reason why I stopped playing Rogue Trader, even though I like Owlcat, is because there were certain game design choices in it that I didn't enjoy. If it was just a bad game and they could patch it, I'd have carried on playing. But these are choices that they've made I don't like or enjoy, so I stopped playing. Okay, I'll do a video about that eventually, and this is what Games Workshop are doing. These are choices. This isn't a necessity. This isn't a market necessity. They're treating you bad on purpose. They are, because it suits them, right? The relationship is 100 to 0. It's them. They have everything. Even EA don't have that. Even EA will cave to pressure on certain things. Even EA won't sue you for trying to do your own thing, right? This is them cutting off the avenues that you have to circumvent their bullshit. That's what leaves a sour taste in the mouth for me. Kaifer, you've been quiet for a while, man, so I want to be reticent of bringing you back into the discussion. What are you thinking what was just said there about me and Macca's points?
I mean, I'm on board with it. I'm a pretty quiet, awkward guy by nature, so no worries about bringing me in all the time. But I appreciate the thinking of me. I mean, what's there to say? Like, I definitely agree with, like, it's the optics of this are just so off-putting, and I think perhaps a connection or a different way to look at it is maybe we can come at this from a perspective like you mentioned earlier, that GW is like looking at this on like a war footing, like they're coming after 3D printing creators, right? And they're flexing this possible solution as a means to circumvent this unfair competition, right? As they've termed it. And under that framing, like, I can't help but make this connection that this is a kind of terror tactic. And I think that's what's hitting that moral intuition for me when I said it's so gross earlier, right? Because if this flex works and then they start throwing all of these legal actions, the threat of legal action rather, onto any and all sculptors to just nuke 3D printing or sculptors out there, creators, like, is that not like a kind of terror tactic? Like, they're not the good guys, like, in any way here. So it is completely backwards why you have those like stodgy stands who just want to defend the GW at every turn.
That's crazy.
Because shit. Yeah, because in this framing, I can't help but see this as they're the bad guys. Like, this, I don't know. I feel like you guys would agree with that framing, but I don't know. Is there, what's the counter argument? Because I feel like there's nothing substantive, really. Like, surely that's like the narrative lens of like, who feels like this is, are GW the good guys here? No way. No way.
I said was
who could think that?
That they are fully entitled, and I said this in my video, and people still got triggered by it because people are just really offended that I had to go at a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
They do that
from my office. Here, in a 3-bedroom house in Liverpool. So yeah, like, the only thing I can say is that, yes, disclaimer, I know we're 45 minutes in, but disclaimer, Games Workshop have every single right to protect their own IP. Every right. Absolutely. Everybody has that right. If you invent something cool, you should be able to go and protect that. But the thing is, I really hope Michael Moorcock is listening to this. Because, Michael, I would like you to sue Games Workshop. Because the amount of things they've stolen from you over the years and thrown into their own little bubble, like, directly. The Kentora Miura estate, people, Berserk, I'd like you to sue Games Workshop. Because they've, Fulgrim is literally Griffith, like, literally just handpicked out of that manga straight into 40k. And they've made money from him. A lot of money. They even got a model of him, several models. I hope you see what I'm saying. You know, you have every right to protect your own IP, Games Workshop. I support you in that. But this is egregious and cheeky and despicable. And quite frankly, the lady doth protest too much, methinks, because there are many people out there who have let you get away with things. Even Moorcock has said over the years, well, you know, it's a fair cop, but, like, that is really cheeky. And the only really reason I'm not taking him to court is because I can't be bothered, right? But that's cheeky. Like, some of the things they've gotten away with over the years, like the 8-pointed star and things like that, where it's just literally June. Herbert Estate, are you looking? Are you watching? Are you looking at this? Because, you know, just saying, like, there's money to be made. Games Workshop are throwing the chum in the water without realizing they're also in the fucking water. And I want people to sting them for this, because this can't happen again. There's no way they're going to win, you know, but this can't happen again, because the cheek of it, to have Tyranids in your setting, we're getting to that point now. Yet Warner Brothers, are you okay with this? Are you okay with them just having xenomorphs? And before anybody says, well, you know, they are visually distinct, fuck you. You can't say that about Tyranids and then not say that about Gamak, right? You can't. You cannot, because they're the same level of distinction, in my opinion, right?
Well, they put bloody Al Pacino on the face of a Space Marine on the front of a box.
I'll get on the phone, mate. Like, get on the phone. Get on the blower.
Like, this is the company that took God Emperor, that took the concept of just so many different things, like 2000 AD and, you know, Judge Dredd. It's like, look at Arbites, then look at Judge Dredd. And tell me,
those
literally Judge Dredd. Literally Judge Dredd. Yeah.
The Necrons and that new terrain with them all in the alcoves is literally a 1-to-1 ripoff of the Borg from Star Trek and their charging alcoves. Like, they are happy to steal everyone else's shit, but the minute you do it to them, they're the most shocked and offended.
Well, that's not even
company in the world.
No one's stealing shit from them. This is what I mean. It's legally like if we're going on
that's how they act. They act like you're stealing from them, right? Yeah, like you're coming over and you're literally knocking a spoonful of food out of their starving child's mouth. Yeah. But when they do it to someone, that's not theft. That is fair use, and that is creating a new idea. That's why you call your guy Sly Marbo.
Yeah.
That's why you call your guy Dutch Schaefer, like the character Colonel Schaefer / Dutch from Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
By the way, they know what they're doing.
When they do it, it's legal. When you do it, it's immoral. And then people in the community defend it.
Like,
but that clearly is a dreadnought.
Like, so we there's a reason why we've still got Sly Marbo, but we don't have Obi-Wan Robinson Crusoe, right? You know, there's a reason why, because one of them they can get sued for, and the other one, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. All their decisions tell you they know what they're doing. Like, they changed the names, Adeptus Mechanicus, Adeptus Astartes, you know, they've done their own thing. The Duergar, they're not dwarves, they're Duergar. Go fuck yourself, the dwarves, right? And how can you... This is the thing that really pisses me off.
That was the direct result of the lawsuit with Chapter House.
Yes.
And trying to tighten up trademark names. Because calling something orcs, they and Space Marines is a huge one. Like, we own Space Marine. And then it was like, well, the term has been in use since Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers, so it's at least from 1950s. So how can you own it if it's the first person to use it? Well, wouldn't that be Robert Heinlein? And Games Workshop's like, you know, nervously sweating, like, but ours have shoulder pads. Like,
it's under my cauldron. I honestly, man, like, I get it. I just
hot kettle black, like, you know.
And by the way, I was one of the people back in the day when they started changing these names and everyone was like complaining. I said, no. What do you expect them to do? They lost the lawsuit, man. They didn't lose it, but like they're abiding by the lawsuit. They're saying, no. We want to trademark these things. We'll change the names, and I was fine with that because you're making them legally distinct from everybody else. You know, making them legally. Your orcs are not really Tolkien orcs. They're orcs from your own thing. Great, no problem. Absolutely. You're branding Games Workshop things, Luminef Realm Lords, or whatever they are. You know, fine. No problem with that whatsoever. It's a bit lame, because I don't want to collect them. I want to collect elves, but that's fine. I get why you're doing it, and I support your right to do it, because that means you can trademark it, and you get rid of all the legal grey area. Great. to now say you can't make Space Marines because it impacts... You made them legally distinct. You did that. You called them the Adeptus Astartes. So now they're legally distinct from everything else that could be a Space Marine. You can't have it both ways. Which one do you want? Do you want your Space Marines to be like all the other Space Marines? Or do you want Adeptus Astartes? You can't... I know people will struggle to follow that because I speak very quickly, but like you can't have it both ways. Is Gamak infringing on your not your copyright, but your right to trade, your unfair competition and all that? Or is he not? Because if you've called it Adeptus Astartes and you've said they're not Space Marines, they're Adeptus Astartes, because trademark TM, right? If you've done that, then you can't say to somebody who's doing Space Marines that look similar to yours but not the same, you're infringing on what we're doing. Because they're not. By your own definition, they're not, because you changed the names. You changed the entire paradigm over there. It's like, so they're not going to go after Tolkien Estate, are they, about orcs? Because they'd get laughed out of fucking court. Everybody would take the piss out of them. They're doing it because it's the small guy. They want to intimidate people. They want to make sure that all of the other avenues that people have to go and do their models are cut off. So they're the only game in town.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, to do a bit of mind reading, I think they're hoping that they could just eliminate 3D printing and this unfair competition in the same way they did with fan animations and that they're trying to do with cosplays and all this kind of shit.
Oh, I can't believe
right?
They do shit like that. Yeah.
It's I mean, you got to call it what it is. It's just the grossest it's anti-hobby. I was going to say anti-consumer, and yes and no, I suppose, because they're pro-consumer when it's just buy from us, but it's definitely anti-hobby.
Oh, the pro-consumer. The anti-fan were pro-consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems fair. Yeah, I'm on the side of 3D printing. I think that's the only avenue to kind of keep them accountable. Well, not accountable, but just to give them some fair competition.
I just looking at the cosplay thing.
Oh, like, yeah, it's
that's wild. Like even a company
like what company does that?
Yeah, like no EA would not do that. Like they're the worst company in America. They'd be like, yeah, that'd be stupid. Why would we do that? Like it's free advertisement, man.
Yeah,
she's got massive titties and she's in one of our costumes. Now every guy at the thing wants to play that game. Great, cool, fine. What is wrong with you? I just don't understand them. I would love to speak to one of these people face to face and just to see what is the... I'm going to be there on Wednesday, actually. If you see me, pull me aside, have a word. I'd love, and I won't be on the record, I'd love to have a little discussion about this, just to figure out where your mind is. Not going to happen, obviously, but just on the off chance one of you has had a few too many beers, you know what I mean? I will be around in the bar. Come and say hello and tell me why you do this, because I can't I don't know why. I'll get you a pint and you can tell me. I just, my mind boggles. It's free advertisement. Why should somebody have to do Space King? Right? Why? It's already legally, this is for adults only. Don't watch it if you're not an adult. Now, that's not going to stop kids from doing it, but legally you're covered. It says adults only, blah, blah, blah. That's what YouTube does. You got to, when it goes up there, it's for adults only. So, if they did that as 40k, it would be the biggest thing, like, ever. If they made... Space King is already so popular. If they made it officially 40k, and it's official, like a spoof on 40k, dude, the entire thing just explodes. Like, just becomes this huge thing. And you can co-produce it, you can, not produce it, but you can do your own merch, you can do this and that, and you're going to get paid for it. It's this constant... we own this, so you're not allowed to touch it, and and fine. And even then, I would absolutely support their decision if they said, you know what, we don't want to do that. That's fine. But it should be, you should be able to just celebrate your love for the hobby without getting a lawyer ramming a pineapple up your ass. Do you know what I mean? It just seems weird. It just seems weird. How dare you like the thing we produce? Like, what? Oh, all right, cool. Can I write a little story about? No. Can I? All right. Well, what you can do is you can buy our models, you can paint them, and they can show people pictures of them online. Right. Can I do anything else? No. Cool. Right. All right. I guess fuck me for enjoying what you've. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know. I know.
It's a weird situation.
There's a good reason nobody else does it. Nobody else in the sphere acts this way. And I'm the mind boggles. Like Games Workshop is such a. When you think about the branding and the memories people have of it, it is supposed to be a wholesome company. Do you know what I mean? It is supposed to be the company of your childhood, and they're the ones who act like literally evil, like literal evil. Like, I don't get it at all.
Do you think the cosplay thing? This is a bit of a tangent, but do you think the cosplay? What I'm trying to get at is, I wonder if it's an unintended consequence with this helmet that they started to produce, right? Like, I wonder if in the boardroom they're like, okay, we have a new product, and this is a helmet that you can wear. It's not a miniature. It's to scale in the way cosplay would be to scale. And then I wondered, because of the overlap, now they take the legal action by default because let's eliminate all the competition. Let's not compete with them. And then they didn't intuit that, oh, this is an entire hobby space that is not really an area that we are involved with at all currently. And I wonder if it's possible that was like an unintended consequence. I think it might be.
In terms of cosplay, it's mainly done by hot women, and I think of the three of us, Maka lives in a country which has the most, amount of hot women, so maybe he should come in on this and talk about this cosplay bit a little bit.
Look, no. just no. Nah. Our beauty is subjective, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Look, I'm firmly on the I'll take my 1990s Jennifer Connelly.
Yep. Early 1990s, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be happy with that. If I have to update it for modern times, I don't know. Like maybe like Eva Green 10 years ago.
Good choice.
Nothing to do with cosplay. I'm just,
I don't know about
making
Eva
some
Green.
hard choices here.
I've said this before, and say it again. She's not the hottest, but she'd be a fucking good time. That's Eva Green. I think she's not the hottest on the list, but you just think, Jesus, yeah. Anyway, back to the models. I think in terms of cosplay, it is.
I mean, wouldn't it? No, go ahead.
It is. I hesitate to put it all down to one helmet. Do you know what I mean? I hesitate to put it down to that, but it is also a Games Workshop, and they are extremely retarded. So it wouldn't surprise me if they just said, yes, we're bringing out this new helmet. Well, let's get rid of all cosplay. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. We don't want that anymore. Yeah, you've got to be legally distinct from what we're doing.
Well, you got things like their cosplay line for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and it's just that's just Renaissance German cosplay.
You can't.
What are you trying to sell here? And they're like, why are you trying to and it's like trying to clamp down on something that already exists and being like, oh, but this is different because it's Games Workshop's official Langschnecht cosplay. Okay, but it's just them slapping their logo on it, and it's such a it's like when Ferrari slaps their name on some coasters for your coffee table.
Right.
It's just something pathetic about it. I got nothing against people who want to cosplay. All the power to them. That's what they enjoy doing. 100%. I've got my hobbies that you might find a bit weird too. I love camping and hiking and being out in the wild and being miserable when I do so, and cold and the wet, and I have fun doing that sort of thing and challenging myself. You know, some people would go, man, you're a fucking weirdo, you know, versus, you know, popping on a Space Marine suit. But when they try and like monetize that, and they just clamp down on everyone that's trying to have just a bit of fun with their universe, it's just something so sad about it. Like, these people want to be closer to you and the IP. And
yeah, that's what it is.
We want to celebrate you. Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to like punish them for an extra buck.
That's the thing.
You know?
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. Like,
that's
like it. I want to celebrate this hobby, and I want to celebrate you, Games Workshop. I want to tell people how much I love what you do. You know what I mean? I want to be proud. The amount of times somebody says, "What are you into?" and I mention Warhammer, but I do it like with gritted teeth, because I hate what you are. You know, I'm literally like Michael Scott. I hate so much the things that you choose to be. You know, that's me, right?
Yeah.
And I want to celebrate you and be like, yeah, this is my company, man. These they treat us well. You know, that they're a really good standard bearer for what we do. They make tons of money, and all power to them. I love getting them some models every now and again. Do you know what? Back in the day when I was a kid, and I was like, you know, 16, 17, I'd go and buy a White Dwarf just because I loved Games Workshop. I did. I know it's sad, but I did. These are my heroes, man. Like, I loved the store. I'd go in there just to support them. Now, fuck, I'm not doing that. And the least you could do, if you're going to take away, like, you know, hottie Sisters of Battle cosplayers, you could at least go and hire some real models yourself and then do some actual cosplay yourself, you know, rather than just, like, saying no more fun for everybody, you know? But, like, we want to celebrate it. We want to be involved. We want to be in there. Even them saying, you know, they used to, in their codexes and their rule books, say, hey, do all these things. Go write your own stuff. What, really? Yeah. Go write your own stories, man. It's awesome. There's a little bit in the rule book that'll tell you what you should do. Cool. Can I make my own chapter? Yeah. Here's some colour schemes. Have at it, right? Hey, do you want to learn how to make a massive fuck-off orc fortress? Oh, here you go. Go get yourself some matchsticks. Right, and dude, that's what we want. Those are the guys, right? Those are the guys we want. We want to support you. We want to be on your side. Stop fighting against us and let us give you fucking money. Like, what are you doing? Right? We're not the enemy. And I think that's what they don't get. I know there's toxic people in the hobby. I know there's people who will always hate Games Workshop no matter what. Trust me, man. Again, worked there, been in normal hobby stores. I get it. There are certain parts of the fan base that you despise, and for good reason. Me too, right? When I was there, it was horrible sometimes because you could never please these people. But the vast majority of people just want you to do well and to do well by them. That's it. That's it. No more. That's it. You know. That's all I've got to say on that.
No, I mean, that's entirely agreeable. I mean, like, I was mentioning it earlier. It's like it would be nice to champion the thing you're passionate about. Like we just had our weird Canadian Thanksgiving, and it happened. It happened again. Yeah. Canadian Thanksgiving is in October. It's a weird thing. But anyways, that aside, my point is, you have your family get together, and it happens consistently. You know, topic of Warhammer comes up, and people know in my family I have a YouTube channel, and they'll ask me about it, like, this, they hear chatter, around the water cooler or whatever about the cool Amazon episode or whatever, or cool Space Marine 2 video games. Like, would you recommend getting into it? And consistently, I'd say no. I do not recommend getting into Warhammer, and it sucks. Mm-hmm. Like, it sucks that's like where I'm at. I'm like, it's.
Or you say yes, but
it's lame. Yeah, you say yes, but you have to be like hobby first, and you have to know the beast you're getting into bed with, and it's like there's all these buts, and you have to consider, and all these like ancillary addendums to add on.
The hobby, the 40k is Amber Heard.
Get out of here.
Like she's gorgeous, but she might shit on your bed. It's you take the chance. You're taking a chance. Like you start the hobby, man, I can see why you're doing it, because it's awesome, and it'd be fun as hell, but, like, you gotta watch that shit, because, you know, it might be coming out of her arse and going on your pillow, and she blame it on your dog.
No, that's a pretty good analogy. I mean, flip it.
She'll blame it on your dog. You know, that's Games Workshop. Like, they come in, shit on your pillow, and blame it on your dog. What's my dog done? Anyway, it's Games Workshop. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Anybody else have any closing thoughts, or you all?
I mean, I think I shared my closing thought earlier. The whole idea of just them being gross and then connecting it to this like terror tactic strategy to stamp out competition rather than engage in good competitive business, basically.
And Mac,
it's definitely a new low.
Oh, you got any?
Well, I was still thinking of Eva Green, but no.
I get that.
Yeah. No, it's normal behavior. Jokes aside, I was just thinking of the irony still of a company that has stolen so much of their IP from elsewhere that the minute anyone does anything that's within spitting distance of the exact same thing they've done, like to the degree where, like, I would argue that something like Adeptus Arbites sculpts are far closer to Judge Dredd than many of the knockoff models of Space Marines are to Space Marines. And yet, Games Workshop sees no problem with what they do and every problem with what everyone else does. And just the hypocrisy of it is contemptible. And people will sit there probably in the comments on this very video arguing that, oh, they have to protect their IP and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but there's protecting your IP and there's being a prick about it. And so many companies know how to straddle that line. You know, Lucasfilm was famous for a long time, as was Paramount, with how they handled like Star Trek and Star Wars respectively, because they're like, you know, Star Trek people were like, hey, make your own fan films, that's fine, but you can't make profit off them. But other than that, have at it. You know, like, even to the point where people had like hired William Shatner or Walter Koenig for the day to come and star in their fan film about Star Trek. Lucasfilm made all the sound effects for Star Wars free. You can download them for free.
That's awesome.
And, you know, and then you've got Games Workshop over here, which is nothing compared to those intellectual properties. And they're just like, oh, we don't like the size and shape of those shoulder pads, buddy. How about you take that down?
It is like small man syndrome, isn't it? Like, you've got these massive companies that don't do that, and then Games Workshop go, no, how dare you? Yeah, dude.
Get your hands off my pauldrons. That's the man who got me on the pauldrons. No, it's just something so pathetic about it, because it's like, no, there is policing your intellectual property, and then there is what they do. And what they do, I would argue, is beyond the scope of what is required to protect your intellectual property legally. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, and this would vary from country to country, but I'm pretty sure that the way they've gone about it is excessive, especially in the Gamak situation, purely down to the fact that they're not trying to, I think, fairly arbitrate the process and resolve it before sending it to court. It doesn't seem like they're arguing in good faith. It seems like, and that is generally, like, again, not a lawyer, but I do note that is highly frowned upon, because the court's opinion on things is always like, we want to be the last resort. Otherwise, everyone would just flood the court all the time with the most arbitrary of crap. And courts dealing with trademark infringement don't want to be like, you know, Judge Judy, having someone, you know, coming through, it's not small claims court, you know?
Right.
They want you to arbitrate until it's like, it's such an impasse, there is no choice but to come to them. And I think when Games Workshop goes in there and goes, oh, we're just not happy that, like, they're making stuff that looks like us. And they're like, well, how did you communicate that? And they're like, oh, well, we didn't give them any specifics. We just said we don't like what you're doing. The court's going to be like, oh, really? Do you want to try this again before you take up any more of our time? Because we're probably going to rule against you.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
I think that's
not a lawyer,
like
but this is everything I've
right?
but I'm not a lawyer, but this is everything I have seen to date in real case law, and from watching like law being discussed by like legal YouTubers and that. They talk about this a lot in lawsuits. So, like, if you don't try and resolve something in good faith before taking it to court, the courts really, really frown upon that. Because, like, if you can't specifically lay out what you're trying to achieve from the other party before you go to litigation, that is seen as like, well, you're just trying to scum them. And that's frowned upon, because the court's like, well, did it need to come to us in the first place? Like, if you turned around to Gamak and said, this is the exact instances we don't like with your models, and here is why, right? That would be arguing good faith. But just saying, remove all this shit because we think it's too close to ours, is just way too blanket of a statement. Well, like, you need, especially if the other parties are asking you for specifics, you need to detail those. You know, even something as simple as YouTube, if we get a copyright strike, I'm sure we've all copped one at some point, even when it's unknowingly just auto-detected by the AI, whatever, it will tell you, like, it's between second such and such and such of your video.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way that shit works. It is very specific about it, right? It would be the same thing if this was looked at by a court of law. They're going to be like, well, if you think that something resembles your thing too closely, Games Workshop, why did you not specify, like, this model looks like this model for these key reasons? Instead, you just went, looks similar to ours, next, looks similar to ours, next. Like, that is not good enough. You're lacking in detail. And it doesn't seem like you're arguing in good faith. And I think that's how it's going to be looked at. And I think that if they pursue this to the courts, it's going to be very frowned upon, and it's going to help Gamak a lot, I think.
I mean, that's reasonable. I'm inclined to agree with that postulation. It's just too vague.
Yeah, I think the problem wouldn't have been if they'd have come out and said, hey, or they've had a back and forth with Gamak, then we could say, okay, there's that's fine. But, like, for them to just not say anything and to just basically just blank him this entire time.
That's why it feels like a mob tactic or something, right?
Yes.
Like, it's like an intimidation play or something.
You knew what you were doing. You know, it's not. This was an intimidation tactic. They're not going to win, but again, people obviously say it's not about winning. You know, it's not about winning. It's about setting an example and, you know, tapping somebody on the wrist and trying to. But the last thing I will say, if you're the kind of person who will defend a corporation like this against a guy trying to put food on the table by doing his own thing in the hobby, you know, unless that guy is absolutely infringing on copyright and doing something illegal, go fuck yourself. That's it. Like, don't do that. Look in the mirror, have a word with yourself. That's what I would say. You know, what's the word the Americans use? Touch grass. Do that. Do that. That's my final word. Anyway, everyone good? Everyone happy?
Yeah.
Fun.
Alrighty.
All things considered, nice to be chatting with you guys again.
Yes, absolutely. I think we're going to be doing another one pretty soon on is a physical print dead in the hobby. That is going to be something that's very very interesting, because I think it is, but I think it is only because of how they treat it. Like, I don't think it needs to be, but we'll get into that on Macca's channel next time. Do we have a date, Macca, or are we just playing it by ear?
Yeah, probably like Thursday or Friday. And of course, for the record commenters, early 90s Jennifer Connelly, or early 2000s like Kingdom of Heaven era Eva Green, let us know. It's very important. Biggest takeaway from
A for me. A for me. I like Eva, but A for me. I'm Jennifer Connelly all day long. Nowadays Eva Green, but like Jennifer Connelly back then, definitely. That'd be, yeah. Anyway, I guess we can just leave it there then. So we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
See you.